Welcome to another episode, everyone. I've done over 30 years of incarceration in the California penal system, unfortunately. Here we're going to get into the 5 worst prisons in the California prison system. Why are these prisons so violent, so brutal, and so dangerous? Let's get into it.
5 dangerous prisons in California. California's prison system has a long history of overcrowding and violence. But in the last decade, the system has become one of the worst in the U.S. due to understaffing.
Okay, I don't know what's going on there. I'm not sure what he's doing. The electric slide, the boogie, the Cabbage Patch, Pac-Man. He's doing a lot of dancing. Take some of that stuff out if you can't lift it, bro. That's not going to get it.
And mismanagement. The prison population in California has grown steadily since 1980. In 2005, there were about 170,000 inmates in prisons designed for only 80,000 people. This overcrowding led to a series of problems including increased violence, poor medical care, and limited access to rehabilitation programs. At number 5 we have Folsom State Prison.
Go! Chow time!
A homicide investigation is underway right now at the California State Prison in Folsom. Authorities say 2 inmates, Anthony Rodriguez and Cody Taylor, attacked another inmate in a housing unit yesterday. Officers used foam baton rounds to stop the attack.
Several state prisons like Folsom are under court review to end such practices as double celling. Prisoners in protected custody here are single-celled, but the more than 1,300 general population cells 4.5 feet wide by only 11 feet deep.
This afternoon.
Look how small that cell was. Let's go back to that. Wait till he opens it up.
The more than 1,300 general population cells.
My goodness, man, look at that. That's the cell in Folsom. Folsom cells have always been small and have been known to be very small. The cells in the more updated prisons, if you will, they're not this small. And they don't have the bars on there. They have the doors on there. But this is horrible. Living in a cell with another individual, another man at that. And this, you have no space to walk around, to exercise, to do anything. You have to stay on your bunk while your cellie's on the floor, and he has not much space to walk around. This causes a lot of tension inside of the cell, the misery of it all, and causes a lot of the conflicts and a lot of the violence. Folsom State Prison, well, yeah, I was going to say they had changed Folsom to like a level 2 prison, so not a level 4 maximum security prison, but now they have sort of changed it back to like a level 4 prison. So it is indeed violent and worthy of the list.
Cells 4.5 feet wide by only 11 feet deep.
This afternoon, we are also getting word of a riot at Folsom State Prison. About 20 inmates were involved in this. It happened this morning in one of the facility's medium security housing units. Correctional officers deployed chemical agents to try to stop the violence. 5 inmates were transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No staff were injured.
The black car getting into it with another race, it ain't gonna be just no one-to-one fight. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be all the blacks against all the Mexicans, mandatory. You know what I'm saying? When it go down, and if you are black, and if we see you and you ain't getting down, if you ain't throwing punches, if you just standing around on some scary shit, we gonna roll your ass up. You gotta get up out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Folsom State Prison is infamous for being one of the oldest prisons in the United States. Folsom State Prison has been overcrowded and full of violence ever since it was opened in 1880, and these are just a few criticisms that have led to its controversy. At the prison, security is quite tight. Guards have also been known in this prison to use extreme force to restore order, as they are so sure that nothing else will work. In 2012, there were at least 10 inmates stabbed by other gang members and 1 was shot dead. This prison is not only overcrowded, but it also lacks supplies, and it seems the prisoners rely on drugs to cope. At number 4, we have Kern Valley State.
Brittany Lachey Sampson worked for the California Department of Corrections for about 2.5 years. Now she's...
Kern Valley is indeed rather dangerous. That's Delano, right? Kern Valley, that's Delano Prison, Delano State Prison. Well, it's Kern Valley, but the name of the prison is Delano, and it is very dangerous in Delano, in Kern Valley. In fact, a couple of inmates just lost their lives there in Delano. And if you don't go and fall in line with the protocols of these prisons, the rules of these prisons, if you flout the rules and protocols of these prisons, you may not make it out of there. It is just that simple. These prisons are very violent. Folsom, yes, indeed, number 1, but I would put it as one of them, but I would certainly put it 5 on the list. I haven't seen this list. I'm interested to see it myself. I have a feeling he's going to leave one of these prisons out that is the most violent.
facing 3 felony charges and 1 misdemeanor, accusing her of accepting bribes for contraband cell phones and drugs.
Today, Kern Valley State Prison shipped out the last of the Norteños, a northern Hispanic prison gang, making today the first day in 4 years the prison has been back to normal. It all started in 2009 when a large riot broke out between the Norteños and Sureños, a southern Hispanic prison gang.
The death of an inmate at Kern Valley State Prison is being investigated tonight as a homicide. Officials say 37-year-old Abraham Morales was found unresponsive this morning in the cell he shared with 44-year-old Charles Ramirez during a routine security check. Morales died about an hour later. The coroner's office will perform an autopsy to determine the cause of death.
And for the 3rd time this year, officials at Kern Valley State Prison are investigating the death of an inmate as a homicide. Officials there say they responded to an attack on the maximum security recreational yard around 10 o'clock yesterday morning. Prison officials allege that 40-year-old Anthony Ramirez and 35-year-old Michael Caldera killed 31-year-old Sidney Kang with 2 inmate manufactured weapons.
Back in April, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, CDCR, announced a brutal attack on 2 correctional officers at Kern Valley State Prison. A dozen inmates attacked the officers in a dorm. One of those officers, Armando Gallegos, who suffered a broken vertebrae in his back, a broken nose, a concussion, and other injuries to his hand and face. At the time, prison officials said Gallegos would not be able to work for a, quote, extended period of time. It had been 5 months, and Officer Gallegos remained under a doctor's care, fighting to recover from his injuries. But Friday, he passed away, leaving behind his wife, Irma.
Prison officials say they were conducting a security check yesterday evening when they found 26-year-old Juan Mendoza unresponsive, suffering from visible injuries. Mendoza was found in the cell he shared with Jorge L. Mendoza. Medical staff attempted life-saving measures, but Mendoza later was pronounced dead.
At number 3, we have California State Prison, Corcoran.
Yeah, there's, as we can see, there's a lot of death in these prisons, a lot of death, a lot of violence, and a lot of politics. And oftentimes, these individuals are stabbed, attacked there in prison for flouting these politics. And again, either you don't get involved in any gang, and even then, you still have to be careful with how you carry yourself there in prison. But if you're going to be involved in a gang, chances are you're going to be involved in a lot of politics and potential danger. I did time in Delano, mainly just a reception in Delano, not too long ago, actually. Folsom, never been to Folsom, and I did time in Corcoran State Prison, which is here 3rd on the list, and I would certainly agree with that. I was in Corcoran State Prison in 1995 and 1996, and it was extremely vicious then, as it is now.
Kicks off, boom. They all rush in Norteños. These dudes get engulfed. And I see my celly over there in action. Getting him. I'm watching. I'm like, damn, that fool's getting his money, I felt bad, guys. At the time, I'm going to keep it real. I was conflicted. I was ambivalent about the whole thing. Yes, the Norteños were our enemies, but yes, the Norteños were respectful to me.
So what do you think about the Beatles, right? Because anyone who knows Charles Manson knows about the Beatles. He believed that they were subliminally reaching out to him and saying things in their songs. And he said, I used to listen to him. I didn't listen to him anymore. I asked him about Freemasons. I asked him about, I asked him about everything I read in the book. I asked him about Helter Skelter, flat out. Blew my mind. I said, what's up with Helter Skelter? He said it was a joke. It was fake. It was all along. It was just a joke.
The male-only facility is located in Kings County, California. It provides open dorms to closed cells to suit various levels of security needs. The prison is very overcrowded, but it also has the infamous security housing unit and is reported to house prisoners even if they haven't committed any crimes. If you do wrong in solitary confinement, the conditions will no doubt be a living nightmare.
Yes, the security housing unit, also known as the SHU program, SHU, short for Security Housing Unit, which is apparently prior individual was talking about Charles Manson. This is where Charles Manson was housed until his death, is in the Corcoran SHU. I was in the Corcoran SHU as well in 2008 and 2009.
This can lead to serious trauma and a lasting impression of this place. At number 2, we have San Quentin State Prison.
When you disrespect another group, the only way to deal with it is you ask that group to deal with it. That's how it's supposed to be. And so they got at these individuals and said, you know what?
And just like I figured he was going to leave something out, because these prisons that he's naming now, yes, they're violent, Kern Valley in particular, and Corcoran still, but Folsom, not as much. It is still violent now. As I said, they returned it to a level 4, last I knew. But number 1, then he's probably going to have Pelican Bay. So he doesn't even have High Desert on the list. And High Desert, at the time that I was there, was the most violent prison in California. There's no debate about it. There's no question about it. Pelican Bay being the most famous prison, perhaps. Folsom, San Quentin, Soledad, Pelican Bay. But High Desert was indeed the most violent prison, but it doesn't get a lot of recognition. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't have High Desert over Pelican Bay. More than likely, he's going to have Pelican Bay at number 1, but Pelican Bay is indeed extremely violent.
He took off an old homeboy. You guys have to deal with it. The Native Americans said, you know what? And left it at that.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, license? Not yet. They got to come here first.
My name's Charles Smith, 46 years old. I've been convicted of 4 gang murders, and I was sentenced to death.
Step back away from the cell, please.
I've been here 33 years at San Quentin, 35 years since my arrest back in 1980.
There's just a layer of smoke up there from all the smoking that was going on. There's little papers floating in the air. People are shooting lines down and catching lines, and I'm seeing all these strings getting fished up and down. There's people running around on tiers. Not many, but a few. Right, it's kind of late in the evening at this point.
Located up in the north of San Francisco, this prison is one of California's oldest and was opened during the Gold Rush era. It opened in 1852 and has a lot of controversies. The prison has been in popular film, videos, and TV programs, but it's not all wonderful. Despite offering inmates various activities, the conditions don't appear to improve much. The prison is infamous for the brutal treatment of inmates, denying access to basic necessities, and overcrowding. COVID-19 was raging at the prison, and 12 inmates died within 2 months. It is reported that inmates, especially the older ones, repeatedly weren't given access to needed medical care. At number 1, we have Pelican Bay State Prison.
As soon as I get up there, we on lockdown. The blacks and the South Sider. What happened? The homie from Broadway came up here. They got word. They try to...
Look at old Chill, man. 16 alive. Shout out to Chill. Shout out to my guy, Chill. 16 and little 9. Yeah. in there talking about Pelican Bay. I knew they were going to have Pelican Bay at number 1. Once they ain't have High Desert or none of that, or Pelican Bay at number 2. Pelican Bay, again, is one of the more famous prisons, particularly in the last couple of decades or so. And it is extremely violent, and they've housed some celebrities there, some violent individuals there, some gang leaders there. They have the SHU program, which is infamous. And so Pelican Bay has been on the map for a couple of decades now. But again, this is not a competition. I'm a prison abolitionist. I want all of these prisons to be abolished and to go away. So whether it's High Desert or Pelican Bay that is the most dangerous, it doesn't matter, really. They're all dangerous.
Take off on him in the infirmary or something like that happened before I got there. So when I get there, we on lockdown because of that. Now that triggered a whole bunch of other events. You know how I go. They try to bring it to the homie from Broadway.
How easy was it to get messages in and out?
Easy. Real easy. Real easy.
These 4 men took the deal. Epi Cortina brutally beat and murdered a fellow.
Took the deal. You don't want to take the deal. She's not talking about the deal in court. Took the deal to get out of the game, to turn coat, to become a snitch is what she's talking about. That's just something that you don't want to do. Get out of the game. First of all, never get into it. But if you're going to get into the game, get out with a clean slate. But don't leave the gang because you have threw the gang under the bus once you represented that gang for so long. Nevertheless, I'm not here to preach to you, but these are some violent prisons. Let's see what I would add to this list, though, other than
Gang member. He lived on the SHU for 9 years before he renounced his membership in the Mexican-American gang Nuestra Familia.
In the hole, man. How was going to the hole? The yard.
Oh man, well that's the only time you really get to see any kind of like sunlight because there's a little bit of sunlight above. But they give you a handball. You can sit there and play handball. You can work out.
This prison has an extremely bad reputation which over the past few years has improved due to multiple lawsuits filed by former inmates. However, there are still issues with overcrowding and a lack of rehabilitating programs. This prison is a maximum security facility. It's known for housing some of America's most notorious criminals, meaning many of them often die there. In the early stages of the facility,
you're sitting there playing handball by yourself. This is your life here in these sort of prisons, man. Isolated, lonely. You just want it to go away.
Accusations of beaten inmates dying, guards having them fight their enemies, not approving the overuse of drugs, and allowing prison gangs to flourish with prisoners being beaten. The situation on the inside changed after the 2013 hunger strike, but is not at its best and may not be for some time. California's prison system is in a state of crisis. The prisons are overcrowded and the inmates are not receiving adequate care. The state needs to take drastic measures to improve the prison system. They need to reduce the population of inmates and provide better medical care for those who are incarcerated.
You think, yes, the prison system in California is drastically overpopulated because it is an incarceration state. They lock up everyone for minor offenses. The laws have changed some since the American public's perception of the prison system has changed some. They have been against these lengthy sentences for trivial crimes before time. These systems were overcrowded because they were locking individuals up, particularly so-called minorities. I say so-called because worldwide we are the majority. Here in America, we are the minority, and as a consequence, amongst many other things, they were locking us up at an alarming rate for minute crimes. And so the prison system was overpopulated, again, leading to more violence because of all of the misery that is there. don't have your proper portions of anything because it's overcrowded. So everyone must get a bite. You know, you're in a cell with people you should not be in a cell with. You know, a crowded yard, a crowded day room, and it lends itself to ample violence and death. This is probably a list that I would have put together 30 or 40 years ago. Folsom, of course, Soledad and such. Soledad is still a very violent prison, of course. Every prison is. But no, Soledad is not a level 4 prison, and it should not have made this list. I would put Salinas Valley State Prison on the list well before Soledad. I would put High Desert on the list more than likely as number 1. Pelican Bay as number 2, and then go from there. Delano perhaps number 3, Calipat number 4. You know, he didn't mention Calipatria as well. Calipatria is an extremely violent, deathly prison with a multitude of deaths annually. And if you hit these prisons in California, Salinas Valley, High Desert, Pelican Bay, Kern Valley, Calipatria, your chances of survival are minimal. But you increase your chances the more you understand the rules and the protocols and abide by them. And if it all sounds like too much to bear, oftentimes it is. And the only remedy then is to stay free, to stay out of these miserable situations, because the situation is indeed miserable. Stay safe and stay free, people.